Luis Gabriel, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me. I know you're in the middle of preparing your next collection, so really it's great to see you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see you, Jessica.
So I want to, as you're a young designer, and maybe not everybody knows your origin story, can you talk to me a little bit about where your passion for fashion, as they say, began? Were you one of those, when I was a child, I dressed up Barbie dolls kind of designers, or is there a whole other story for how you became so enthralled by fashion?
For me, yeah, I'm like your first sentence, I'm part of a cliche. I want to do this job since I'm a kid. I'm drawing fashion since I'm like, I don't know, 5 or 6. I should ask my mom. But yeah, it always has been a dream, and I don't know why, because I'm not particularly from an artistic family or background. But I always wanted to do that, but I was a bit afraid of doing this job and being part of this job, because when you're not used to it, you know, it can be a bit frightened. So I've made like some classical studies before studying this. So I've made like 2 years of medical studies. Then I've done a bachelor in law in Paris. And after doing an interview at Vogue, it was when it was Karen Wadfeld period, I really started to think like, okay, I really want to do fashion. I really want to dive into it. So they advised me some school, and I was accepted at La Cambre in Brussels. And I've been graduated in 2014. Yes, it's quite a while now. And
It goes fast. It goes fast.
It goes so fast. And while I was graduating from my master collection, I was working at Raf Simons Studio, and I was selected at Tier Festival this year. So everything went quite fast after that, because I graduated. I went to Italy to work in doing tailoring, and I was starting doing collaboration at the same time. So for like just after graduating, I was doing collaboration in my own name, plus Galeries Lafayette, La Redoute, some big department stores in France, while I was having a designer regular position, you know, in several companies. So
I want to go back and unpack a couple of the things that you talked about during your career, because those are, you kind of go over, you kind of just mention that you were at La Cambre, but those who might not know, that is one of the most prestigious and also possibly one of the most creative and avant-garde fashion schools, and also one very difficult to get in and one very difficult to remain in all the way to the end. So can you talk a little bit about that? And then I definitely want to talk about the Raf aspect of your life as well after that. But what was it like going to that school? What did that school give you?
So for me at the time, because now it changed a bit, you know, with the European law, and I don't know how it is now with the Brexit, you know, for going to St. Martin's or stuff like that. But for me at the time, I was accepted at Central St. Martin's, but it was too expensive, and so plus the cost of the life in London. For all the school in Paris, also it was too expensive for me. Didn't have the money to do that. So Belgium school are very good for that, because it's public school. So it's like 300 euro for 1 year for the tuition. Wow. Yeah, so it's like public school. And the same for between the academy and it's a bit higher, I think, for the academy, but I don't know the price. And La Cambre, but everything is public. So you have a contest, yeah, like a selection at the entrance. And yeah, we are not that much at La Cambre, for instance. We started in first year, we were 20, 25 students in one class. And when I graduated, it's there is a lot of variation, but me in my promotion in 5th year, we were 3 students to graduate. Yeah.
I said selection was rough, but 3 is intense.
Yeah, it depends. You have some years you have 2, some years you have like 6. It really depends on the class.
Why do you think that it's so tight, and that there's so few that graduated? And do you consider it a badge of honor that you made it all the way through?
Because I think first you have to work as hell. Like I've met studies before, you know, which required a lot of work, but it was more in your mind, you know, like medical law, you know, it's very theoric, you know. Here in La Cambre, which is like quite amazing, yet I'm really proud to have been part of this kind of training, because it's very practical, and they really train you to do and to yeah, to do everything yourself, like pattern making. We have to work for the show every year. So the show is like half of the quotation, you know, for the year. We have like amazing jury with like big professional. All our teachers are working in brands, you know, in Paris or in Antwerp. So everyone is like really into the work experience and real life, you know, of the business that we are going to do after school. And at the same time, it's really like they always tell us like it's a laboratory. Like everything that you do in school, you may not be able to do it after because you have to think about production, price, you're going to work in house, so you will be not as free as you are now. So everything that you are doing at school, it's like your own laboratory, and you can pick up things after to do your own thing. It's really actually what I'm going to do. Because for me, for instance, I discovered that I love to do menswear. It's not really specific in the training. You can do what you want. It's just the number of the collection that grows every year. And also we have internship, which we have to do every year to complete the year, to finalize the year. And it's minimum 2 or 3 months every year. Okay. So basically you don't have vacation for 5 years and doesn't stop after. But it's really like, it's really tough because we have to find all the models for the show. We have to do all the, yeah, everything. Yeah. So we have to find a sponsor. For me, for instance, I was working while I was a student, and we have to find sponsor for the material, for model agency, for makeup, for doing video, lookbooks, you know.
Okay, now I understand why only 3 were in your graduating class. But then you mentioned this is where you discovered you wanted to do menswear. And again, I think even in like 2014 or that, you know, I think that's when menswear was just starting to explode.
Yeah, it was very
prominent in women's wear, but maybe when you started that wasn't so much the case. So what made you go, I want to do menswear? Was it because you're a guy and you're like, I can try it on me? Was it as simple as that, or was it something more profound?
It's part because for me, I like to do clothes. It may sound basic, you know, but at least I can try everything and see, okay, it's well cut. Even if I don't want to wear it, you know, I can see if it's technically it's okay. So this for me, it's the first point, because as I'm doing everything on me, you know, when I was at school, I was like, okay, it's cool, it fits, silhouette is okay, is what I want. So this was the first step. And then also I love doing patterns flat, you know, like on the table. I'm not very the type of designer which love to work on a bust and doing moulage and draping and stuff like that. So me, I love spending days on the 5 millimeters to find the perfect line. And it really fit to what we are actually doing in menswear. It's like 5 millimeters for a collar, it makes all the difference, you know, or size of a button or the finishing. And I like the fact also that in menswear, you have lots of, everything is determined, you know, suits, it's like of a men's uniform. In every menswear collection, you have to work on jackets and pants, shirts, knitwear, you know, everything is really codified. Yeah. And I think it's when you have this kind of limit that you can be even more creative, because you know where you're starting from. Okay, I want to have this kind of specific color. This have been done before. Where can I be new? You know, by material, by the cut, by how you show it. So
you like the limitation of the menswear, the idea of menswear itself, like within that framework, the creativity that you can bring about. Well, yes. I think that you know, training or working with Raf Simons was the perfect way to experiment, you know, within the framework of menswear. Can you talk a little bit about, because I mean, you really, I believe it's you also worked at Zegna, so two like the pillars, you have one of the most classical and one of the most maybe creative menswear you know, brands out there. What talk to me a little bit about what both of those experiences brought to you as an artist, as a designer.
First, my experience at Raf Simons, it was like amazing. To be completely honest, it was like teamwork. It's really like the Belgium experience, 100%, because it's like a super small team. Everyone know each other for like 20 years. Antwerp, it's really like not weird. Weird is not a good word. Strange atmosphere, because we have like such a small city. with so much big brands, you know, like in like street.
Yeah.
So it's very funny. But so you have this kind of very family spirit, you know, in the team, and all the people that you work with are from Belgium, even if we are doing shows in Paris or if like the press is in Paris. You have this kind of Belgium way of working, which is like always super respectful, and yeah, it's a very like the perfect way to work. And at the same time, super perfectionist, and you have to work as hell too. But first, it was like the best experience for me in terms of how to work in fashion and how to develop collection. And also, you have all this kind of very strict process about how you make a collection, which is very scientific, I can say, like very mathematic. You have images, you have fabrics, you have shapes, and you have to be the more radical, you know, as possible. So you try saying, okay, it's good, but we can do better. We can push. So it was really like the mojo. And in Italy, it's not the same type of working. It's more like we launched 10,000 prototypes and after we pick, you know. So I feel it was more like that, you know. And in Italy,
big business and more and small, or
it depends. It's really like it's not the same type of fabric selection for instance, at all. You know, even for doing a jacket, you have like so many school. For doing a shoulder line, so you have like the more English way, you have the more Italian way. You are Belgium is really in between, I feel, and so for me it was very interesting. I knew after Rav that I wanted to work in Italy because it's like basic for tailoring. And it's like the best fabrics in the world, best factory in the world. So if you want to know how to stitch a sleeve, I think this is the best country to go. And I wanted to learn Italian also because it's very useful in the business. So it's not at all the same way of working, even if the result is impressive, you know, in both way. It's two different approach from doing fashion. So it was very complementary, you know.
Allora parli italiano adesso?
Possiamo parlare un paio, ma non è troppo.
Get going in English.
Okay, adesso parlo solamente per un piccolo fornitore, ma niente per fare tutta la storia della mia vita.
Ho capito. So we were talking about the story of your career in Italian just now. You talked about how your creative process a little bit, that you're not somebody who likes to drape on a mannequin, that you're more, you know, flat, the lines, you know, the meticulousness of it. But I also understand that one of your kind of inspirations, or the jumping off point for all of your collections for you personally, when you decided to launch your own line, was the idea of a book inspiring the collection. That's a kind of an interesting and unexpected way to kind of frame your collections. How did that idea come about, that that's how you want to define your brand?
It's more the opposite way, because I always created like that. Even at school, I was doing collection about books. And because I am reading a lot, since I'm quite of hyperactive, my mom put me like drawings, readings, you know, sports and stuff like that, just so I can leave the family calm and in peaceful way. But for me, it was quite logical, and now I have to explain in the brand why I'm working like that, you know. So it's the opposite way, because for me it's super natural to do things like this. So I think for me, as I told you, I like to create limits, you know, and create codes. So I think you can be even more creative when you put this kind of limits, you know, and you work on it, you work on all at the same time on it. So literature for me, it was kind of logical, because you have all the source of inspiration. Also, I think it's always, even if there is a links between all the books that I choose, it's not an innocent choice at all. It creates a story in fashion. We are always talking about, this is a story, it's not the story of the collection, you know, you have always this kind of sentence. So here it's kind of basic, you know, the story, it's one book. So I have one collection, one book. So you have already everything in the book, like the writer, the period, the color gamut, the atmosphere, you know, that you want to create after, like in a show, in a lookbook, in a still life, you know, like everything. And also I like to start from text as I think it's always more personal than starting from a movie or from images, because we see images every day, all the time, you know.
And when you're reading a book, you're creating your own images in your head.
Exactly.
It's
for me,
personal.
when I'm reading a book, it's like I'm making a movie, you know, in my head. So that's why I'm always disappointed when I see movie from books, you know, except Harry Potter. But you know, you have always this kind, you create your own characters. And me, the characters that I want to deliver with the brand, it's like all the books are from hell of the library. I don't know how to say in English, but it's like books which were quite
controversial,
exactly, at the time, for a lot of subjects, you know, about the team of the period it was edited. You know, the subject was like super hot and super touchy, or because the writer also was a bit weird or a bit on the line. I like to be on the line, you know, and I think with books you can be with suggestion, you know, and for me it's even more strong to be always like this, to be a bit sneaky, and so people can interpret it as they like, you know, and they can create their own story.
So controversial book. So Harry Potter could be a future book that will inspire you then, I guess.
It depends the way you turn it. It can be super controversial.
Yeah, controversial authors for sure. One of the things you mentioned in when you were talking about your kind of origin story was the fact that you did a lot of collaborations. I know you recently did one with the soccer team, the football Paris Saint-Germain for your brand, but that it's something that's always been a part of what you do. And again, you kind of seem to be on the, you know, the cutting edge of kind of the trends of what fashion is doing, which is this idea of collaborating with different companies or different, you know, artists in different areas of expertise. So, but basically to create new interest and new drops in your own brand to a certain extent. And then also I think to learn from the other. But what was it that made you want to do this, especially once again, before that really became the norm within fashion, that you wanted to do these collaborations?
For me, I started the brand in the opposite way, because I started doing collection by doing collaboration. I was not able to have, you know, a real brand. So for me, it was a huge opportunity I had with Galeries Lafayette. Just after being selected at a year festival, they proposed me to do the collaboration. And it was the first time they were launching that. Now it's like kind of a repetition. They pick like one candidate every year for doing a collection. But for me, I was like super exciting, because it's like you can do daily product, especially with a department store like that. It's always super cool, you know, to make stuff in your atelier, to draw amazing things. For me, it's more easy to do showpieces than doing like super, to have the cool balance between commercial and with a signature, you know, that you have a good price, a super good quality, but at the same time, the pieces is signed and you know from which brand it is. And so for me, it was natural, because I start doing like real clothes by this way, you know, like with daily clothes, to have the result, you know, of the sales, to have a target price, to know for why you are doing clothes, for who, what is your clientele. So, and I really started to focus on my work by this way. So for me, it was like normal to continue doing it with the brand, because collaboration were like, for me at least, logical. We did like 2 or 3 seasons with Damar, with this, who is like the French specialist for jersey and super technique. So for me, it was so cool to be able to do active wear, which was like actual, real active wear, you know, and not like marketing bullshit communication. Also, I'm working a lot with Agnel, which is like one of the last French glove maker in France. And also that's part of the destiny, you know. This is people that support me from the beginning. So I'm super proud to continue be able working with them, and because they have a huge knowledge and they want to do new things. Also, this is
they want to be stimulated as well. But exactly. But I'm seeing a pattern here in your work story, and that you seem to be doing kind of the opposite of what everybody, you know, the flip side of maybe what would be the most, you know, straightforward way of doing business. And if we're going to continue that theme through your career, it's the idea that you would launch a brick and mortar store in Paris during a pandemic when everybody else is shutting their doors. You've decided to open yours. So
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that thought process and what you want to express with this store that, from what I understand, is generating quite a buzz in Paris.
Yeah, you know, it's really weird because yeah, it's always about evolution, and we were part of EFM label last year. Yeah, I think last year, and it was great because we were with brand with different kind of development, like Marine Serre, Atline. This was this kind of session, so yeah. we knew all each other, so it was really cool, and we can be really free in what we were discussing with all the different problematics that we have in our brand. But first, we had like a meeting with the CEO of Isabelle Marant, Sophie Duroux, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to have as a company. You know, this kind of evolution. Isabelle Marant, they start doing 20 years ago, doing jewelry with one super small shop, and they grow like that. And you have all the same people are in the company 20 years after, you know, like Raf Simons, or, you know, this kind of brand. And this is why also I want to do this job, because it's a meeting of different kind of people, and you can evolve, and we have chance to do new products every 6 months at least, so we can correct and adjust and push everything. And at the beginning, I was like, no, I want to stay digital, blah, blah, blah. We are the new generation. But at the end, I think, and we start the brand with the online stuff like straight away from the first collection.
Yeah.
But at the end, I was like, okay, I think it's important, especially now that we have a lot of issue in Paris, like attentat. Now we have the COVID. We have like huge strikes for 1 year, so it's quite tough now in Europe. But it's not as tough as other parts of the world. I don't complain, but it's not as it was 5 years before.
For sure.
Anyway, it's more like to create a point, you know, like you have like a stone, and which is a place, a space, and you can really like express everything that you want to do in the brand. And I think it's always more easy, especially for a brand like us, which is really into fabrics, development, knitwear. It's not things that you see on the website. It's really and I've seen the reaction of people in the shop. Like when they try the clothes, they buy it. You know, it's really like you have to try, you have to touch. And for me, this is, yes, a bit like the opposite, that everyone wants to do digital, and but at the end, everything is flat, you know. And I think people need to have a place that we can come. And for me, this shop is not only a shop, it's our atelier. As you can see, we have the atelier upstairs.
Yeah.
And we want to do a signature for a new writer. We have friends which are artists we can invite and do exhibition. We play a lot with the window to create, like, we think new things, and not to be to have like plastic models in the
they're very artistic, your windows, for sure.
Yeah, so I think both can, it depends for your kind of brand. But for example, we didn't have accessories at the beginning or access price on the website except t-shirt. So now with the shop also, we can send direct to consumer. So we can do specific products that we were not able to do because it was too expensive for us on wholesale market. But now we can do it directly in the shop. So we are completely free to do what we want also, which is a freedom that it's always, I think, more easy to have when you have a real space than when you have an online store, or you need like a huge market. You need to have like more marketing tools.
Yeah.
But also we are still a super small team. We advance at our time. And to be completely honest, for me, it's more important to put budgets at making clothes, you know, as putting more into communication and doing bigger and bigger shows. So I quite like this atmosphere. For us in the brand, it was like quite queer when we went. I just crossed the street, you know, I found it like that. It was really random.
It was meant to be. But I like that idea of a store bringing you a certain amount of freedom and the ability to customize and to get that first-hand knowledge. I mean, you can get the data when you online about what's working and what's selling and what's not selling. And usually, again, it's those smaller prices are the things that are easier to buy, like a t-shirt or a scarf, whereas when people come into the store, they can really see the way, you know, something fits on the body and the shape. All right, so to wrap this up, I want to just ask you one last question. And so you've got a lot on your plate. You just opened a store, so maybe this is a little, you know, premature to ask. But what are next steps for you? What's your next big project on the horizon? Maybe besides the collection.
The bigger step. Open more shop. I don't know, it's so weird to say that, and we are just in lockdown again.
Yeah,
but I'm so happy about the results that we have in only like 1 month and a half. And it's a tough period, as you said, like we have no tourists in Paris. So it's only like super local people. We didn't do like event for the opening, so it was really like super soft with this only stuff on the Instagram, very organic. And yeah, I'm super happy about the result and to see the variety of people that we have. Also that come to the shop, we have girls, which I was super surprised. We have old people, we have young people, we have millennials, and everyone picks something different. And for me, this is, and for the team also, it's like super precious because they say, okay, we are doing good clothes, you know, and when it's on the hangers, it can talk to different kind of people, you know, so that all the storytelling, you know, that we can put around, you know, like the space, the atmosphere, the photo shoot, blah, blah, blah. At the end, it's a close, you know, so if
well,
people
listen, I'm definitely going to be stopping by with my husband. He's got his birthday coming up, so I'm going to come in and take him into the store and treat him to something nice and maybe myself something nice. But
yeah, sure.
But I just want to thank you so much for taking the time, telling me your story, and I just think your story is fantastic. What you do is fantastic, and it's just been, as always, a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for your support. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And yeah, let's come back in France so we can you can come and we can have a coffee if possible.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Mwah. Big
Thank
kiss.
you so much, Jessica. Have a nice day. Bye.